Hello and welcome to our final lecture of the semester. We made it. This is chapter 27, the reproductive system. Saving the best for last over here, obviously. Before I get started on this, the first of two lectures, and they're going to be a little bit long, so I'll make this quick. I want to point out to you guys in the lab activity for this coming Thursday, I have included a PowerPoint which has a whole bunch of histology slide images on it. It might be a really great thing for you to bring with you on Thursday to reference when you're looking at your slides under the microscope in person. Okay, so make sure that you check that out. I would highly recommend having something where you can see, pull up Dr. Lee's histology for reference as well. There's a lot of good stuff there. And I made a worksheet for the reproductive systems for you. So make sure that you print that out and bring that as well. Okay, you guys? I will also make sure that I have the Pearson Lab Manual for Repro available to you by this evening. So hang tight for that. And here we go. Chapter 27, Reproductive System, begins with a little review of the dreaded and widely hated concept of meiosis. Okay, so taking us back to Bio 50A, just a little review here. Remember, mitosis is the division of body cells. So all of the cells in your body besides your gonads, they divide by going from a parent cell to two identical daughter cells, which are genetic clones of each other and the parent cell. That's just how you heal wounds and grow taller and replace your skin and all of that important stuff. Meiosis, pardon me, is the process by which stem cells in your gonads, so in your egg or sperm producing organs, divide from one parent cell into two, and then divide again, leading to four genetically distinct daughter cells. Okay, so you go from one parent cell of one genetic makeup, which is your genetic makeup, to four daughter cells that are completely genetically distinct from each other and from the parent cell. This is why your kids are not little clones of you, right? And every egg or sperm that you produce will lead to a different human, right? Because each one is genetically distinct and it contains half of the number of chromosomes needed for a human. The other half comes from your partner, right? So one egg, one sperm, or with today's technology, half of the chromosomes from one individual and half the chromosomes from the other together form a diploid, full number of chromosomes human. We have a lot of different chromosomes, and one of them, I should say two of them in each of us, determines our biological sex, right? Female eggs have two X chromosomes because they came from a biologically female, and sperm have an X and a Y chromosome, which is why they came from a biological male, right? So you have XX if you're biologically, genetically female, XY if you're biologically or genetically male. Okay, this is important because I want to mention sex determination, right? So each of the sperm produced by a biological male that produces sperm, half of them will have the X chromosome because, again, all of these gametes, these four daughter cells, these gametes, sperm or eggs, have half the number of chromosomes, right? So half of the sperm have an X and half of the sperm have a Y. And in terms of eggs, as far as eggs go, half of the eggs have X and the other half have X. So all of the eggs have X. So when you combine a sperm and an egg, you either get XX and a genetic female, or XY and a genetic male. Okay, this doesn't always go as planned, right? So even though you might have a genetic female, you may have a problem with either the mixture of hormones or the receptivity of the tissues to sex-determining hormones, which may lead to a difference in the genitalia of the new human, right? In addition, chromosomal abnormalities can lead to having additional X chromosomes or not enough X chromosomes, or additional Y chromosomes or not enough Y chromosomes, which can lead to like a whole spectrum really of ways that humans can appear when they are born. By the way, these chromosomal differences, when they occur with the sex chromosomes, can result in a healthy, albeit maybe different, human person, maybe infertile, but alive. Whereas if chromosomal abnormalities like an extra chromosome or a loss of a chromosome in any of the other somatic chromosomes will lead to severe disease or just death of the embryo. Basically, you have non-survival. Indeterminate sex is this spectrum that I was talking about when we're considering differences in genitalia between males and females. So you have 100% male, right? XY chromosomes, all of the testosterone, the androgens have all been received by the tissues, and development occurs what we call normally to what we recognize instantly as male genitalia, right? Full normal female genitalia with XX chromosome, genetically female, biologically female, no question. But in about 1/1500 births, you end up with a situation where the genitalia can be ambiguous. And these folks may refer to themselves as having indeterminate sex, as being intersex, or having a sexual developmental disorder, I believe is what it's referred to. And this can be because of, again, differences in sensitivities to sex hormones during early embryonic development or chromosomal abnormalities. Some people also find out after they reach puberty that their internal genitalia does not match their external genitalia, wherein, you know, females realize later on in life that they do not have a uterus and ovaries. They were born without them. Or that a otherwise normal appearing male doesn't have testes in his scrotum. Or a biologically genetic female might actually have testes in her abdomen. Or a biological genetic male has ovaries in his abdomen. It's a trip, and it can be a sliding scale of biological sex. And this also plays into what I'm going to talk about a little bit later, which I think is the most fascinating part of the reproductive system, which is that all of the structures in both male and female, external and internal genitalia, arise from the same structures. So the structure that becomes the head of the penis in males, the glans penis, becomes the head of the clitoris in females. The part that ends up becoming the skin of the scrotum in males ends up becoming the labia majora in females. So these structures are all there. They're just kind of there in different proportions on a sliding scale for some people. And again, that's about 1/1500 births. And finally, I wanted to share with you this adorable picture of this happening in other animal species. So the Virginia opossum is our only marsupial in North America, and they're very special, and I love them. And if you have any questions about why, let me tell you the ways, but I don't have any time right now. But check this guy out. He has a scrotum with testicles, with testes, but he also has a pouch, and you can kind of see it right there. So in a female possum, this pouch would be used to carry the babies, right? And males don't normally have one, but this little guy does. So Interestingly, this individual has both male and female characteristics. Okay, so as far as the reproductive system of humans goes, we have some important things to keep in mind before we dive into the details. Sex organs of both males and females, biological males and females, arise from the same structures and have similar functions. We refer to these structures, therefore, as being homologous. Homologous structures, okay, in the male versus the female. Each sex has gonads. Females have ovaries and males have testes. Gonads are the organs that produce gametes, right? Which, in the case of females, are eggs, and in the case of males are sperm, right? They also produce sex hormones, which I guess estrogen, well, estrogen is in both males and females. Testosterone is in both males and females, androgens. Progesterone is specifically female and produced by the ovaries. But other than that, we have just different proportions of sex hormones. The components of reproductive anatomy include, again, gonads, which produce gametes. We have a reproductive tract in both sexes, which is basically a system of tubes or of passages that basically that lead to the egg or the sperm, or from the inside to the outside, if you will. So a tract, so basically like a pathway, okay? The reproductive tract, which could be ducts or passages that receive, store, and or transport the gametes, eggs and sperm. In addition, we have accessory glands and organs. So we have extra stuff that's not to say that it isn't important, but they're not part of the reproductive tract proper, okay? So accessory glands and organs, these are going to contribute fluids a lot of the time to the reproductive process, things like that. Okay. And perineal structures. So perineal, peri is in like around, and this includes a lot of the external genitalia. Okay, so perineal structures, peri as in around, which includes the external genitalia. Okay, so let's go into detail, starting with the male reproductive system, and then I'll go into the female reproductive system and all the leftovers in my second lecture, okay? So the gonads of males are the testes. That is plural. Singular is a single testis. Okay. The tract of males, the reproductive tract, consists of many tubes. We go from the testes all the way out through the penis, right? In terms of the pathway of sperm during ejaculation. These structures specifically are called the testis proper. Then you've got this part that wraps around the testis, which is called the epididymis. From there, sperm travels up this tube right here, which is called the ductus or the vas deferens. Okay, I should probably be color coding this, huh? Let's do that real quick here. So let's say, I'm not gonna have enough colors, I don't think. We've got the epididymis, we'll say that's black here. The vas or ductus deferens will make blue. And that's this guy here. All the way really to here. And I will accept either ductus deferens or vas deferens for that guy. We've got the ejaculatory duct, which is really just like from here to here, literally. So basically it's from where this gland, the seminal gland, enters into the vas deferens, where they are combined for a moment. You have what is called the ejaculatory duct, which then becomes almost right away the urethra. And as we know, the urethra is relatively long in males, and it passes through the prostate gland right here and through the length of the penis. Accessory glands include the seminal glands, which contribute to the fluid part of semen. Jason just got home. And the prostate gland, which is this guy right here. Okay. And finally, let me go ahead and color code the seminal glands. Finally, the bulbourethral glands, which are here and here. And these guys produce pre-ejaculate, which is also important. And as far as perineal structures and external genitalia go, we of course have the penis and the scrotum that the testis lives in, okay? So let's go over these let's first look at them from a profile view. Okay, so this is of course an anterior view. Here is a profile view of the exact same structures. So once more, we have the epididymis, which is this strange looking structure right here. We have the vas deferens, which is going to be this tube going all the way up to here. The ejaculatory duct, which basically is where the vas deferens meets with the seminal gland or the seminal vesicle to about there. And then once we get, well, it's basically once we get to the prostate or through the prostate, that's when we start calling this tube the urethra, okay? And I want you to notice also, check out the urethra portion that's coming from the bladder, right? So the bladder is here. You have the urethra from the bladder here, which continues all the way down. But the urethra is also used to conduct semen, right? So the urethra from here down is a shared structure. This part is just for urine, and this part is just for semen. But for this all the way down, it does both, right? Urethra. All right. The seminal glands from this view are here, which is to say the one. So this is like the right seminal gland, because you can only see one from this view. And the prostate is still right here, wrapped around that proximal portion of the urethra, right? And then the bulbourethral glands, or the one that we can see from this side, is here. And it has its little passage that connects with the urethra right there. Okay, all right. So how does this all work? Let's take a closer look at the testis, okay? So in each testis, within the scrotum, you have two main structures. You have the testis proper, where spermatogenesis happens. Okay, so inside of this little egg-looking structure right here, you have a bunch of tubes, and in the middle of the tubes, you have stem cells, which mature and divide and mature until you have what are called spermatids, which are basically baby or immature sperm cells that are hanging out in the middle, in the lumen of the tube, okay? So basically all of their little tails are hanging out in the middle of the tube while they finish like dividing and becoming little immature sperm cells inside of the seminiferous tubule, okay? So the seminiferous tubules are everything in here. They're all of these little guys. Those are all seminiferous tubules. And if you took one in cross section, you would have basically like stem cells on the outside, which basically are developing and duplicating, they're replicating and developing, basically forming those gametes. They're doing that meiosis until you have sperm in the lumen. Once the sperm are in the lumen and they release from the wall, they travel into this strange part that wraps around here, which is called the epididymis. And I had that one in black too, I shouldn't have. Okay, so the epididymis is here, and that is where the sperm mature, okay? So ejaculation brings sperm from the epididymis up and around, okay? The sperm that are inside of the testis are not mature, they're not ready to go. So basically the epididymis is where sperm go to mature and to wait until they get their big chance to try and find an egg, right? So the epididymis wraps around the testis, and it is directly connected to the vas deferens. Ooh, let's see, what color did I make that? That was blue. And blue. Okay, so the epididymis connects to the vas deferens. That is why only the mature sperm get to go on the long journey around and out to find an egg, okay? The vas deferens, of course, is going to come all the way up and around and meet at the ejaculatory duct, where the seminal gland is going to release basically all the rest of the fluid part of semen with the sperm. Those two substances will travel down the ejaculatory duct and meet with the urethra. Okay. Another close-up and then a cadaver testis, if you don't mind. So one more time, the testis, where spermatogenesis happens. So basically where you're going from stem cells to sperm. It's meiosis if we want to really oversimplify it. The epididymis is this part wrapping around the outside. This is where sperm mature. And the epididymis connects to the vas deferens. Okay. It is going to carry that sperm all the way up and around and out. Finish my color coding here. Okay. And recall that this outer skin is called the scrotum. Okay, so the scrotum is literally just the sac. The testis is what's on the inside along with the epididymis, okay? If you were to stretch out the epididymis, as in this tube, it would be longer than your intestines. That's how long, that's how much coiled tube is in here. Pretty amazing. All right, so one more time, following the path of sperm from, oh, never mind. We got some extra stuff here. Oh yeah, never mind. So I was on the right track. So from the testis and the seminiferous tubules, which are inside the testis, take it nice and slow for the old iPad. Easy does it. Wow. Okay, well, we did it. Okay, so that's where you have meiosis happening. Those newly formed immature sperm move to the epididymis to mature. And the epididymis is connected to the vas deferens, which comes all the way up and around until we reach the seminal gland, which is going to contribute the liquid part of semen. Right? Okay. Oh, the ejaculatory duct. Right. Okay. Okay, what else is happening here? The bulbourethral gland is here. The prostate gland, which also contributes to semen. Actually, that's what it does. Is up there. You can see the ureter, which leads to the kidneys, right? And the bladder. Yeah. So the seminal gland here is going to contribute about 70% of seminal fluid, believe it or not. It is going to be composed of water, of course, but also carbohydrates, so sugars, proteins, and electrolytes. These are going to basically nourish the sperm, which is really important. And it also is a alkaline substance, which is going to help to protect the sperm as they enter the vagina, which is an acidic environment. The prostate is going to contribute its part as the sperm and now the seminal fluid sperm combo passes by, and it is going to add its prostatic secretion, which is also alkaline. Which is, again, to help to preserve the sperm when it reaches the vagina, which is relatively acidic. Finally, the bulbourethral gland. And this actually happens before these other things. So before ejaculation, the bulbourethral gland is going to produce pre-ejaculate, okay? Or pre-cum, if you're being colloquial about it. It is, the purpose of the pre-ejaculate is to clear the way, basically, for sperm. So it's going to help to neutralize any acidic urine that might still be in the urethra, as well as lubricate the urethra for the passage of the sperm. Sorry, I have to write this so slow. Okay. So this is the pathway of the sperm, okay? The seminiferous tubules of the testis to the epididymis for maturation, and waiting until ejaculation. Before ejaculation, stimulation causes the bulbourethral gland to secrete pre-ejaculate, which will clear the urethra of any acidic urine as well as lubricate the urethra. Then for ejaculation, you will have the mature sperm from the epididymis travel up the vas deferens all the way up in front of the pubic bone, which seems crazy, in front of the pubic bone, around up over the urinary bladder, also crazy, around, and then it's going to meet the seminal gland or the seminal vesicle, which is going to secrete 70% of seminal fluid, what will be seminal fluid. Those two junctions will join to meet and become the ejaculatory duct right here. And the prostate will contribute the remaining 30% to the semen. And the semen will then travel down the shared common urethra all the way down and out. The male sexual response is literally, it's a parasympathetic and sympathetic cooperation. So this is one of those rare cases where the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system aren't at odds. They aren't working against each other. Instead, they are working with each other, which is kind of rare in the human body, kind of amazing. So the process of an erection is actually part of the parasympathetic nervous system, and then ejaculation is sympathetic. So you need to be not stressed out in order to attain an erection. And then the sympathetic nervous system kicks in and gets your heart rate going and your lungs pumping for ejaculation, which is kind of trippy. So in order to achieve an erection, the arterioles that lead to all of this spongy tissue of the penis, which are actually very important, I'm going to go ahead and underline them, include two parts. You've got the corpus cavernosum and the corpus spongiosum. Okay, so these are both important parts of the penis. I will go ahead and make sure that they are underlined. Actually, all of this stuff is. Okay. I know I've already mentioned the glans penis, but I will mention it again. Cavernosum, spongiosum. Okay. So the difference between the corpus cavernosum and the corpus spongiosum is that the cavernosum is one, it's outside, it's superficial to the spongiosum. The spongiosum is just wrapped around the urethra. The cavernosum also has a great deal of ability to expand, and that's because of a lot of these hollow spaces that are in it. So there's a lot of space for blood to fill in. The purpose of the corpus spongiosum really is to keep the urethra open, okay? So it doesn't expand so much that it's gonna squeeze the urethra shut. However, the corpus cavernosum around the outside of it, that is going to engorge with blood. And it does that because the parasympathetic nervous system allows the arterioles leading to the cavernosum, whoops, the corpus cavernosum are going to dilate. So that it takes parasympathetic nerve fibers to vasodilate those vessels because they are constricted normally. So you have to dilate those blood vessels to allow blood to fill the penis, the corpus cavernosum specifically, and the corpus spongiosum to a lesser extent. Okay, so both of these guys receive blood. The bulbourethral gland is going to secrete its contents, which is pre-ejaculate, right? The mucosa of the urethra itself is also going to produce mucus to help to lubricate the inside of the urethra as well and neutralize acid in the urethra, right? And then the sympathetic nervous system has to kick in order for muscle contractions to start, which will cause sperm to leave the epididymis, to travel up the vas deferens, up and around the bladder, to the seminal vesicles, which will secrete the rest of semen, from vas deferens to the seminiferous gland. Oh, to the, I'm sorry, this is the seminal gland. I don't want you guys to be confused between the seminiferous tubules of the testis and the seminal gland that contributes to the semen. Once we pass that junction, the vas deferens becomes the ejaculatory duct. The prostate contributes its portion to semen. And the internal urethral sphincter to the bladder, right? So this is the bladder, that's the urethra to the bladder. That internal sphincter, the involuntary one, will close. And that's to prevent urine from getting mixed up with the semen during ejaculation and to keep semen from going up into the bladder. Very, very important. So this needs to shut off so that everything else can be open for ejaculation. Okay. And then after that, you have a feeling of well-being, you have relaxation, and males have a refractory period where they need to rest before they can experience another erection. As long as they're not on Viagra or something, right? All right, so I'm going to cut this one a little bit short here. The next lecture video will be a little bit longer, so be prepared for that. But we are going into the female reproductive system from here, and I will see you on the other side.